What's up, everybody? If you have not seen one of my videos before, welcome. If you have, then welcome back. This is going to be my first official weekly watch list video for the coming week, starting tomorrow, September 30th. This is my watch list from last weekend. It's going to be similar with a few extra stocks added into it. I'm not really going to cover AMC in this video. I'm not really going to cover SPRT in this video, but I will be covering RVP, I will be covering PYR, and I will also take a quick look at PRPO either in this video or in another video, because I plan to make at least two. There's too many stocks to talk about and I don't want a 35-40 minute video. So without wasting any more time, if you wouldn't mind leaving a like and subscribe if you have not already and you're interested in seeing further content from me and this channel about weekly watch lists, about daily updates. For these watch lists, I'm slowly trying to transition from the stock twits, because I know stock twits, I don't know how cool is stock twits, right? I don't use Twitter that much. I don't use Discord that much. I put my ideas on stock twits, try and help people out, try and make some people some money, bring some things to people's attention. And I'm going to be moving that and start throwing videos on top of it to give people a better idea as to what's going on with these stocks and why I'm watching them. So let's jump right into it. First stock I want to talk about is going to be PYR. PYR, as you can see here, we have on the weekly chart, we are set up with this nice it's kind of a descending W, but it's a W nonetheless. It just creates this wedge that is currently trading in. So if we zoom out here to the daily chart, zoom in, zoom out, whichever you want to call it, the next resistance is going to be this big breakout line here, I believe. I mean, we've already tested this, tested this breakout last week. I'm looking for it to retest this line, retest these indicators here, the 50 MA and the 200. I think if we can get that break above the 50, that would be huge. To getting this breakout. Obviously we need to get the break first, but I'm saying I think the 50 MA is a little bit of a resistance, whereas here at the bottom you can see very clearly that we have been respecting the 15 MA as support, at least doing the best that it can to do so ever since it broke above it back here. So moving forward, I'm looking for that test of this trend line, which would put it about 450. If we can get that break above 450, we're looking at, a quarter later, 475. But ultimately, I think the big breakout points are going to be somewhere in the 525-ish range to 550. And then if it can somehow break that and get back to 650 and break 650, it's going to be off to the races. Those are the horizontal lines, however. So we will get some momentum with each descending line it crosses. We should get a little push and the volume should pick up a little more. Things should start moving a little bit, more volatile, attract more people. And I think this is just a beautiful setup. The purpose of these videos is going to be purely based off the technicals. I'm not going to do a whole lot of talking about the actual companies, but this company, they do work. They produce things, plasma torches and equipment for mining and drilling and drilling for oil and gas and stuff like that, as among other things like waste destruction, elimination completely. But mainly they're plasma torch, and they just signed a contract not too far back, week and a half, for $1.2 million for that. For those plasma torches. But I think the risk here, the potential risk to reward, is incredible. And as you can see here on Citadel's website, the risk management is incredibly important in the stock market. You gotta manage your risk so that you don't end up in a situation where you could potentially lose everything, right? Even Citadel will tell you that. So the risk to reward here, I think you got a strong support at 350, a strong support. You got more support at $4 that we are back up above that $4 mark. And these, like I said, this 15 MA is curling back up. We've been riding it, and I think we're going to get a nice push here to the fives, mid fives in the upcoming days and weeks minimum. That's a minimum. If we look for this W to play out, we could see a 650 test, 650, maybe even higher before it comes back down and cools off around $5 or so. But I think, like I said, the risk here is not great enough to outweigh the rewards, in my opinion. We can take a quick look at the short interest. Ortex will not, when you click on the short interest, it just gives you a bunch of NAs. But here on their summary chart page, you can see the utilization rate at 95.7%. The free float is only 3.3. The free float on loan is only 3.23%. So it's very low, but the utilization is almost maxed. The shares on loan come out to 2.36 million, which isn't that much, but let's not forget that this stock yesterday, Friday, I'm on the, let's see, let me go back to PYR. On Friday, PYR only traded 90,000 shares. So when you have 2.3 million shares to cover on a stock whose average volume, the average volume over the past 3 months, 195,000 shares. So more than 10 times the amount of shares that they have to cover. So the thing is is this a short squeeze play? Not particularly, but can it become a situation where you can make some nice gains off of shorts or the hype around potential shorts covering their positions? Yes. I think it would be wise for whatever shorts there are to consider to start covering those positions upon a break of $455. And I think you could see some pretty strong movement if they do start to cover those shorts, and then that would just cause more buying to come in from Fomo. So even if there's not an enormous amount of shares on loan, you got to compare it to what the stock does on average. You know what I mean? Like the stock, like I said, on average, less than 200,000 shares, and that's including, this, where, these days where you've got enormous pops in volume, 750,000, 1.5 million. There's days 1.4 million. So there's days that it trades a heck of a lot of shares. So we're looking for a couple of those days in a row to help get us moving back up in the right direction. But a break of all these indicators here is gonna give this thing a nice push, and I think there's a lot of room to go. So that'll do it for PYR. Next up, we are going to take a look at RVP. RVP is one of my favorite stocks simply because it was one of my first stocks and one of my stocks that I can predict the most accurately just because of the way that it moves. If you look at the weekly chart here, for one, the setup is beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. The break of $14 would send this thing into territory where it has done nothing but fly back and forth, and that would be a good thing to see because it is currently trading at $12.40. And it has a high of $21.50 with no real established levels of resistance, just price points. Like this wick here at, 16-ish. That's what we're dealing with here. A wick at 14-ish. A couple wicks that came up around $14. And one of the reasons why I love this thing so much is if you look at these weekly candles, they trade in a range. When it's at support like this, back here, in December, it traded in ranges for a month. It bounced back and forth from $11-ish or $10.50, I should say, up to $12.50. 20% range minimum each and every week. And back here, more recent history, it's doing the same sort of thing. This was $10 up to $13. You've got 11.27 up to almost 13. It's trading in these ranges. These are getting a little less consistent, which is good because that shows more volatility. As you can see, the volume has been picking up. Last week, very low volume, but the volume has been picking up over the last month comparatively to the previous 2 months. Here on the daily chart, you have a clear level that we are looking out for right here at, we can do the bottom or the top of this range. You know, $13 we'll call it, because that's where we tested Friday. And I think you're going to see coming up another retest of that $13. I'd like to see it get back above there, and back above 13 and trade there for a little while. But I think you could potentially see a dip back down to the low 11s, low to mid 11s. I think anything under 1150 at this point is a gift, is a great screaming buy opportunity. Anything under 11 to 1150, and then that will be a nice 20 to 30% gains on the way up to retesting our $14 mark. And a break of 14 is just wide open, so we're looking for that break of 14 coming up. Again, this isn't one that I expect is going to turn around and give you 50% in 2 days, but this is a safe, very safe, and very high potential play, very high potential in the coming weeks. And I'm excited to see just exactly how far it is going to push when it does push. I mean, this setup isn't too different than what it was doing back here towards the end of last year at this time, August through September. Looks awfully familiar, just on a bigger scale. So I'm looking for that retest coming up, ultimately of $20. But short term, got to hit 14. But even between here and 14, you're still looking at nice solid gains. So looking good, moving forward. Can't wait to see how this one plays out. We can take a quick look at the short interest on RVP, because it is something worth noting. That's not RVP at all. RVP, if you want to load, what's going on here? There we go. So retractable technologies, short interest. It is pretty high short interest. We've got a short interest of estimated 22.23%. So that's pretty substantial. And I would bet that a lot of those positions would be out of the money come past $14, and the ones that are in the money above that are not going to want to see their gains be disappearing. So, and this is again another situation where you've got an estimated short interest of 3.27 million, where you got your utilization at almost 83%, shares on loan at almost 25%. So you've got 3.27 million shares on loan in a stock that is trading less than 300,000 average. If we go back and look, the average 3-month daily volume, 472,000. So it's a little under 500,000, but it certainly isn't any 3.27 million. So this volume is going to need to pick up substantially as they're starting to cover, where it's going to take them quite a while. So again, it's one of those low volatility, low volume, lowish float scenarios coming up on a breakout with decent short interest. So we've seen many of these play out over these past couple of weeks, and it's exciting to think that we could be pretty close to seeing a pretty nice move here on RVP. Okay, the last stock I want to touch on in this video is PRPO. This is I'll be honest, I don't really know much about this company whatsoever. It's just a stock that caught my attention with these crazy volatile moves that it's had. It's not, the short interest is not very high, utilization not very high. There's only less than 600,000 shares on loan, and the stock trades almost 2 million a day, so average over the last 3 months. So it's got a 1.6 million average shares traded today. So this is not short squeeze territory. This is crazy breakout territory. This is the daily chart. You can see how many times it's popped, got pushed back down, popped, sold off. It broke out of this wedge, and then it's held this level of support. It's been steadily making these pops out of nowhere, and now we are sitting in a spot where I'm looking for this breakout that it's got to continue on. And the reason why I'm paying attention to this, even what the heck, I'm in my line. The reason why I'm paying attention, even though it's kind of a weird chart, is because of the pure, like the potential on these moves. It's insane. The stock is currently at 327, and it just traded at a high of 918 on this last run up, and every time it's doing it, it's going up a little higher. As of late, it's got a recent high of 1080 going all the way back to May of 2019, and it's just out of nowhere getting these gigantic rips like this. So I'm looking for another one of those. This is going to be probably an in and out play, obviously, but I'm just looking for another one of these monster days, maybe 2 days back to back. That's what I'm looking for here, and then we'll see what happens from there. But that's all I've got to say on that one. It's in a very clear wedge. It's in a very clear breakout, do or die situation, and I'm looking forward to rebound tomorrow and hold this trend line and see how this plays out in the coming days and weeks, because I think there could be a chance for a couple of just gigantic days. I mean, that was 171% back there out of nowhere. So just keeping an eye on that one. That's all I've got for this part 1 of my weekly watch list. Part 2 coming out later tonight. Make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell to get notified when it does come out, or just keep an eye out for it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.